Here we are. I'll be back. There you go.
I'll be back.
We always get Ralph to say, I'll be back. Got Ralph Schoellhammer waiting very patiently and very politely, unlike most of us would be if we were waiting for as long as he's been waiting. Ralph, a very good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Mike. I was just worried that you had forgotten about me, but I'm glad that I'm
No, we hadn't. It's just very difficult to stop this man from talking next to me. I mean, he's got some very interesting things to say, to be fair. And listen, let me ask you, because we're seeing, I mean, it's been described here as the balkanisation of the voting public in the UK, where we've got huge swathes of the country, which are not really British anymore. The Green Party have won this election. Basically nothing to do with local policies, not even British policies, everything to do with the policies in Gaza and Palestine.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a worrisome trend in the UK, but in continental Europe as well, right? But we see, I mean, this is, if you want, the curse of the multicultural society. It's not becoming one cohesive society, it's becoming parallel societies, and then you need an ever more powerful state who can then administrate between all these different competing groups. We are becoming tribal societies, and this is the biggest problem we have. And this is the one thing I feel, right, that we gradually, even within the establishment, start to recognize and start to admit. I'm very heartened, I have to admit, but what we see happening in the UK, whether you support reform, whether you support restore, I think there is something afoot, which means that even now Nigel Farage is being pushed into the right direction. Because my sense, and Mike, I said this on your show many times, I originally still kind of think that he probably doesn't have what it takes. But with Rupert Lowe kind of pushing him in the right direction, he probably will not have a choice. There's a famous saying, I think it was Margaret Thatcher, who said, you don't wait for the right people to do the right thing. You wait, or you create the circumstances under which even the wrong people have to do the right thing. And, if Nigel Farage finds himself in that position, all the more power to him.
Yeah, the problem, of course, is that we may not have to have an election for quite a long time. And by the time we do have an election, how much more of this balkanisation will have happened?
Well, I mean, I found it funny. About 2 or 3 years ago, right, everybody told me, oh my God, there can never be political change in the UK because of the electoral system, the majority vote. It's impossible. And now, actually, what we see, if you look at the polls, it's happening much quicker than, for example, in Germany and other places where you have a different form of electoral system. The beauty about the British system is it is very stable for a very long time. But once the people truly have had enough, or if they truly are looking for an alternative, change can happen very, very quickly. Now, I agree with you. It's 5 to 12, but luckily enough, it's not 5 past 12. But I think that the change is probably happening much faster than we expect. If there could be a general, I mean, again, I'm just a foreigner, but if there could be a general election in the UK tomorrow, I'd be very happy about it. But on the other hand, even these new political movements, they need time to prepare. Think about Donald Trump. In a certain sense, him being out of office between 2020 and 2024 gave him precisely the kind of time he needed to really put together both an agenda, but also an action plan to execute it. So if reform and also restore in whatever way, shape or form, prepare them to actually execute in detail what they plan to do, I think that might not even be the worst thing. So good for them if they come into power soon, but I would still argue if it would be tomorrow, it might be too early.
Yeah, very possibly so. I mean, Kelvin, do you think that this is the beginning, if you like, of the end for the sort of the two-party system? And we are now.
Right. The thing we don't talk about, of course, is the vote for the Conservative vote.
Yeah, well, I was about to mention
the Conservative vote was 2%. Well, it actually ended up 706 votes. They lost their deposit. All right, you're never going to do very well in a place like Gordon and Denton. But the reality of it all is I think the Conservatives must be thinking to themselves, what on earth is likely to happen to us in every single election before we go? What is going to happen to them in the May 6th elections? I think it's a disaster for them. So we are seeing, it's the last two by-elections have meant that the biggest parties, Conservative and Labour, haven't finished second. That has never happened before. So we are seeing people, to your point really, Ralph, that I think we're seeing people actually making decisions of a different kind to the one they would have made 20 years ago.
Well, I think there's a divide that didn't exist to that extent in the past. I'll give you a concrete example from your cousins or your prodigal son across the Atlantic. When Donald Trump gave his State of the Union speech, right, there was this one point where he said, he asked everybody, every member of Congress to stand up if they agree with the statement that the primary obligation of a state, of a government, is towards its own citizens and not towards illegal immigrants. And pretty much the entire Democrat caucus remained seated. And this is the big issue. The United Kingdom, has a beautiful saying, right? It's Her Majesty's loyal opposition. So the idea has always been, even in the two-party or three-party, if you include the Liberals, but the idea was always that different parties maybe suggested different paths, but they all work towards the same goal. What we have in Europe and in the UK, there are political parties where I would openly say they do not care about their country. They do not care about its people. They are only driven by this idea that we have so much historical guilt, and the only way to atone for this guilt is basically to commit civilizational and economic suicide in whatever way, shape, or form. I mean, a topic that Mike and I talked about many times. This is also, in my opinion, behind environmental policies. But the idea is not that the UK on its own can save the global climate. Everybody who can run, the basic algebra knows that is impossible. But it is supposed to atone for the sins of the UK. Mass migration is supposed to atone for the sins of colonialism. So this is the difference. So there are parties in Germany, in Austria, and the UK, again, in your case, I think it's Restore and also Reform, that honestly believe that actually British civilization is worth preserving, that actually there is the world is a better place if the English stick around. And then there are other parties who believe the exact opposite. And I think this is the true divide that we have in Europe. It's between parties who say that actually our countries, our cultures, our civilizations should be preserved. And then there are parties which would argue it should be overcome, it should be abandoned, it should be replaced by something new, a hodgepodge, multicultural, whatever then it is. And I think this is ultimately the choice that the British people and the rest of the West has to make.
Yeah,
in the rest of Europe, do you see the Greens view, which effectively, and this kind of gets lost in the wash. I mean, we should literally, on this program, we should read out their policies. I mean, these are a collection of nut bombs, right?
Yeah.
Who for some reason have actually captured thanks to Gaza, have captured the Muslim vote. That the open borders is part. Are there other parties in Europe which are doing well, which have the Greens view basically of having an open border, just allowing anybody to come in at any time? Are there other parties like that?
Well, yes. I mean, it's the same with the Tories in the UK. I mean, the so-called quote-unquote conservative parties in Europe, with a few exceptions, are no longer truly conservative. I mean, you had the Boris wave, and we can say in Europe we had the Merkel wave, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And these are supposed conservatives. But I give you another example, just to slightly switch the topic, but only for a second. I mean, there was a vote in the European Parliament that said that also, so it's not just biological women that can get pregnant. So basically saying that a guy with a penis can also get pregnant. And pretty much all the conservative parties voted for that proposal. I mean, if we can even not agree on the distinction between man and woman as conservatives, then they are no longer conservative parties. I'm very sorry. Just to put the name conservative to your party, that's not enough.
Yeah.
And so the so-called, and even if you look truly at the positions of the quote-unquote far right, extreme right, at the end of the day, the positions they hold were completely commonplace and held by conservative parties in the 1980s.
Yeah. I was listening to. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's what was the problem for the Conservative Party in this country, was they suddenly got filled with people who thought, like Penny Mordaunt, for example, when she got up and was pretending she wanted to be leader of the Conservative Party, trans women are women. That was her line. She wanted to sort of join the forces of the dark side, if you like, of the people who believe things which are patently untrue, right? And so, but also, you've got things like Times. This is Times Radio on the way in this morning. And they referred to the Reform Green sort of axis as the far right and the far left. Well, Reform are not far right. I mean, you can call them that, but that's not true.
Well, there's a whole load of parties have started to the right of reform since then. And in fact, Farage spends a lot of his time actually trying to be what I would describe as old-style conservatives.
Yes.
I would say kind of Thatcherite, but kind of trying to polish himself up a bit. Right. So with the Greens right now, there's not going to be many Gorton and Dentons, only because there aren't a whole load of Muslims who are prepared to take Gaza as a more important aspect of their life than their own high street, which is an absolute disgrace in itself and should destine those people to worry about whether we should have them in our country and wondering whether they are whether acting in our own best interests actually, and whether they should be British citizens. But putting all that to one side, right, the Greens will kill Labour stone dead because they're going to chop 10, 15% off them.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of this happen in Europe where there has been a more left than the traditional Labour Party then go and kill that Labour Party stone dead within various European countries?
You see it a little bit in urban areas, and I think that's probably similar to the UK as well. I mean, the cities have gotten crazy. I mean, I think this is the only thing that one has to recognize, and particularly that's a topic probably for another day, Mike, because we would have to get deeper into it. And particularly unmarried single women under 30 that go to university in the cities have gone completely crazy. I mean, if you look at the most insane policy proposal, that's the demographic that tends to support them. And I think
so. Say that again, Ralph. Say that again. Who are the biggest bum pots? Women under 30 who are single. Unmarried
women. We are single, and it's true. I mean, there's a lot of evidence out there, and I don't want to attack your feet. There are exceptions. Don't get me wrong. This is not supposed to say that it's all of them. But for example, in Berlin, right, the far left party, which is the most pro open borders party, got most votes from that demographic. So there's always this absurd connect in the sense that the very group of people that most likely will be victims of migrant crimes tend very often also to vote for more open borders. I mean, I looked at the rape statistics in the UK. I mean, it's no longer hyperbolic to say that there is a rape epidemic in the UK. You just have to look at the numbers. But the key problem remains, and which is that we have created conditions under which patriotism has become a source of shame and not a source of pride. The people of the West have been brainwashed, I would say at least for the last 60 years, into a sense of permanent guilt, a tyranny of guilt, I would almost say, of constantly feeling bad for their own history, their own traditions, their own people. And this is now slowly starting to change. And my point is, even a Margaret Thatcher would not be enough. This is not about economic liberalism or, about free markets. This is about a sense that we are in an existential struggle, whether or not our civilization, our culture, and yes, I'm saying it, our ethnicity is going to survive, the next 20, 30, 40 years. And I think these are justified questions. We might come, out on different ends when it comes to the answer, but these questions are increasingly crucial and important.
Yeah, they really are. Absolutely right. Pooch, have we got that little bumper that you did? Did you say you made a little bumper for Ralph?
It's not a bumper, it's this. Hold on one second.
Yeah, I'll have a look at this.
Hold on 1 second. Go to Ralph. 1 second.
Yes.
There you go, Ralph.
Here we are. I'll be back. There you go.
I'll be back.
We always get Ralph to say, I'll be back. Thank you very much indeed. Ralph, great to see you. Ralph Schoellhammer.
Thank you. Good seeing you, Mike. Take care.
Thank you very much indeed. Great man. Talks an awful lot of sense. And isn't it true? You've said this. Where are we going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Where are your grandchildren going to be looking at?
I'm younger than you.
Yes,
right?
of course.
And
mentally, perhaps.
Yeah, and I'm younger than you. So, but even I'm worried about, well, what does it look like?
Yeah.
Not for me. And actually, I'm not even worried about my kids.
Yeah.
Right? I'm worried about their children.
Yeah.